So I'll admit that today I'm not really in the best of moods. My heart just isn't really terribly in it today to try and come up with a for real critique on what's going on right now with pretty much anything. But I did want to do a video today talking about another video that I watched that I'll link in the description. I watched Jordan Peterson pretty much do a therapy session with Milo, and it was extremely interesting. It was really interesting to hear Milo talk, the things that he had to say about that situation with 2 years worth of introspection. It was interesting to hear what he'd come up with. And it was kind of interesting because I haven't watched Milo for 2 years either since all that shit happened. I pretty much wrote him off. I was like, I can't really use this guy as a source anymore because for some reason, I don't know, he's become a golden calf to me, and I need to excise that from my fucking, So it was interesting to watch him again with fresh eyes, and to kind of see the person that he's become and the person that he was at the same time. You know what I mean? He hasn't changed a lot. He just seems to have gotten more wise. Like he's earned a little bit of wisdom, it seems, in the last 2 years, and that's pretty cool. It's interesting to see a wise Milo Yiannopoulos. So I'm really interested in what he's got going on. Apparently he's working on a show. I'm quite interested to see that. That's for sure. I want to see what he tries to do. I want to see how it goes. We'll see what happens, but he's of a mind that he can really pull himself out of this and like a phoenix rise from the ashes. And I'm kind of like, depends. It really depends on what you do, because they're not going to let you do what you used to do. So you got to do something totally fucking different. And as soon as you step out of your lane, they'll crush you again, because you're you. Like, that's, And it was interesting to see a lot of his perspective on a lot of things that had happened. And it was interesting to see his arrogance. Like, he's got this way about him where he does have a degree of excellence to him. He does excel in certain areas. And that can't really be denied. You have to kind of accept that he has talents, and he knows it. And sometimes when he says things, you kind of got to go, well, all right, fair enough. That's a fair enough assessment of your own skills. And then other times when he says things, it's kind of like, you're saying that with a whole lot of certainty. And I don't think that you really can say that with that much certainty. But it's like, he seems to blur the line between, I know this because I know this about myself, because I'm me and I know me better than anybody. And I know this because this was my experience, so this is now what I know about this whole thing. Like, he's blurred the line between those two things, and it's all kind of become the same thing to him. And so it's really interesting to hear him talk, and it was interesting to hear him talk to Jordan Peterson, because there was a point where he was trying to, psychology Dr. Peterson. And like, it's one thing when Jordan Peterson does it, because Jordan Peterson's pro. It's what he does. So he comes at it in a certain way with a certain attitude where it's like inviting an openness. Like he's asking you questions like he genuinely fucking cares about your answer. And that's kind of a rare thing to find in people. And so, you know, when you see him ask people questions, you know, you get a certain sense of, you know, you catch a little bit of that, you know, that kind of openness and that kind of desire to actually know what you have to say, to actually learn what it is that you want to teach me, you know, like that kind of a thing. You catch a little bit of that when he talks. And like usually whenever he does an assessment, you know, he'll ask a question about an event or a thing, and how did this make you feel? What do you think about this? Blah blah blah. And then as you kind of answer it, he'll kind of just go, okay, well that makes sense if things are kind of more like this, because that, and then he'll kind of explain why it is that these things fit in that way. And when he does it, it's not in a talking down to you manner. It's almost like he's trying to figure it out with you. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, oh, well, okay, so now we got a new piece, and now because, you know, and like he's trying to, you get the sense that he's trying to help you along. And it was funny to watch Milo try and do that because he's so arrogant. And like I said, he's kind of blurred the lines of I know this because I know this to be fact, and you couldn't know this because you don't live in my body. Whereas he thinks that he's figured out things about people, but because he knows he's really smart, obviously he's right. You know, so when he throws out observations that he has about Jordan Peterson, like it's interesting to watch Jordan react to it, because he just doesn't kind of engage with it, because I would imagine that it's probably not the first time that he's talked to somebody who has decided to psychoanalyze him. So I imagine that he always finds it somewhat humorous whenever people try to psychoanalyze him, because he's kind of like, I don't know, but he has this little grin on his face through it, and it made me laugh. And he didn't really, like, he didn't rise to the bait of it. He just diverted on to fucking, because he's kind of like, I'm interviewing you, man, like, this isn't really a conversation. So, you know, he just kind of went back into whatever. And, like, I don't know, it was kind of funny the way that Milo almost, like, co-opted the space with him. Like, Jordan's hosting him on his channel. You know, this was on Jordan B. Peterson. And so Milo's guest on his channel. And it, like, towards the end, Milo's like, you know, I wanted to talk more about you. And it's like, well, he talks about himself on his channel a lot. If you wanted to talk about him, you should have had him on your channel, except he ain't got one. So, like, I know that you kind of want to do a show on his platform, but, like, that's not the format. This is an interview. And, like, I don't know, it just kind of, it made me laugh. Like, again, the arrogance of the man. And I think that was what I was so attracted to with Milo back then, when I really was a big fan of Milo. I think it was, I admired the arrogance, because he was arrogant back then, but not pompous. Now he's arrogant and kind of pompous. You know what I mean? Like, he was pompous back then too, but it came off more like an act. Now it just comes off more like pomposity, where you're just kind of like, oh, you're just kind of really pompous. You know what I mean? Like, before, it was almost tongue-in-cheek. You know what I mean? Like, he was playing a character to me. And I thought it was a really fucking cool character. I love the character. Here's this pompous gay man that doesn't give a shit about the fucking rules of whatever, and he's going to tell you what he thinks, and what he thinks isn't what a pompous gay man should think, because he's conservative. Huh? You know, like, so, I don't know. It was an interesting character to kind of see him play off of all of the elements, all of the dichotomies that he had conflicting. it was kind of cool that I think that was the appeal to Milo, but fucking there isn't really much of that anymore. Right now I'm just interested to see what happens when his bubble finally ultimately bursts. I don't think it's going to be devastating, but I think that Milo is a guy that we're going to watch beat his head against a particular wall, and that wall is fame and stardom. I think that he's going to beat his head against that wall and never actually break through. Because he is ultimately his own worst enemy. He's going to get so big, and then he's going to torpedo his own ship. Like, it's the first way that he rose and fell, and now that he's trying to come back, ultimately, shit's going to end the same fucking way. And it's funny that he even says that in the interview. He says, I'm going to go up and down a whole lot. And I'm like, yeah, too fucking true you are. And every time, it's going to be a little bit fucking less. That's the difference. Like, he thinks every time he goes up, he's going to hit a higher peak. I don't really see that happening. I see every time he goes up, he hits a new lower ceiling until it's just nothing. He's going to be on Milo. I'll be able to, in 5 years, I'll be having Milo Yiannopoulos on my show, and I'll still have 2,500 subscribers. You know what I mean? And that will be his most recent fucking peak. And then he's going to ultimately say something on my show that's going to fuck him up again. I see that as being a quite possible future. Just saying. So, hopefully I'll have more than 2,500 subscribers by then, but it's entirely possible. So, yeah. I don't know what to tell you. But, yeah, I don't know. It was interesting to watch. It was very insightful. It was very, very intriguing. I got a whole lot of questions that I can't wait to find out the answers to. And I have a bit Milo has earned back a bit more of my respect. Like I said, wisdom goes a long way. Milo has earned back quite a bit of my respect, I would go as far as to say. But I still ain't using him as a source. Because, I'm not going to promote him at all. Because I'm not getting any of that shit splattered on me. It's already happened once. I'm not doing it again. And he can call me a coward if he wants, but dude, you do it to yourself. It isn't cowardice to avoid danger. It's intelligence. Dumb fuck.